Hello everyone. This is probably the last recap that you see of this Hexblast Trickster. There's not much else to say about the gear since it hasn't really changed, but there has been a lot happening in the last day, and I want to talk about it. So, number one, the build was actually very good on League Start. I completed my entire Atlas, as I said previously, and like all the Void Stones and everything. I made it to level 98 with 12 deaths in total. I am not typing /deaths anymore because of this content I started doing afterwards. I spent about 12 hours yesterday farming tier 17 maps, and there is a lot to say about them. Number one, they are very fun. Number two, they are extremely unfair. And number three, they are super profitable. So let's just go over them one by one. So, fun. I had a lot of fun doing these bosses, especially when the mods weren't too ridiculous. I would argue the bosses are a little squishy for how my build is. I actually think I had a perfect balance of defense versus damage, as I'm definitely like invested heavily into damage, but I'm not squishy enough that I get one shot running to the bosses, which is a lot of times problem for like weaker builds that try tier 17s. And a lot of boss abilities do not one shot me, obviously except the ones you are actually supposed to dodge. I cannot really tank like the one shots or if there's like double damage mods on the map, right? But the boss fights themselves are really fun. The Sanctuary boss, which is Lycia, is very, very fun. And I would say it's the easiest boss. Then there is Fortress boss, which is the highest golem guy. That guy, if you have enough damage, you can just insta-phase. So if you meet the DPS check requirements, he's the easiest for sure. He is not that hard, even if you don't know. Citadel map is Uber Utrecht. That one is purely a skill check. You can definitely avoid all the damage there, but not gonna lie, I mean, I've had some incidents, let's be real. Ziggurat is the hardest map in my opinion. It's Katarina combined with Abyssal Liches. That one I think you can actually fail, even if your build is decent. It's a fight where stuff like Defiance of Destiny or ES on block would be insane, because it's a lot of small hits oftentimes. And then Abomination, which initially was my most hated map because of how it works, but then it became my most liked map because of how it works. There's 3 different bosses, Maligaro, Chavaron, and Duedre. And the order you kill them activates their abilities after their death. They summon like copies of themselves, spectral copies that cast abilities. And what I found to work the best for me is kill Duedre last. And then when it spawns the last boss, it doesn't summon the Duedre totems that are extremely annoying to deal with, especially on Hexblast since they are curse immune. But overall, I think all the fights are well done, but a lot of people will not experience how good these fights are. Why? Because of the unfairness of the map mods. Some of the map mods are just insanely unfair to most builds. This build is extremely good, because there's not a single map mod that breaks this build. And that is a huge advantage. I can just buy maps unID'd and run them that way, which saves me so much time trading and whatnot. I don't have to look for specific maps. I don't have to discard maps, anything. But I think most builds cannot do that and won't be able to do that because there's so many mods that straight up break builds. Which is sad, but it is part of it. I've heard a lot of people hate the unmodifiable tag, but personally, I actually like it because I find it very cringe when there is like formed invites and you roll it for 60 quant until there's no mods that actually affect your build. That doesn't really make sense to me. What would make sense to me though is you having the option to run these white for 1 fragment and then run them rare for 2 or 3 fragments at a time. I think that would be a good balance, and I wish that is what they do, because I think that would fix the problems people have. And it would make tier 17s a lot more accessible and put the difficulty where they were promising it to be, and that is before Uber bosses. Because these bosses, if you actually find maps that don't have mods that affect your build, are relatively easy. I would say easier than Ubers or in line with the easier Ubers. So yeah, I think that would fix it quite well. When it comes to the profitability of these maps, most of the profits really comes from fragments. All these fragments are selling for 1 DP each or more, and then a bunch of other fragments selling for like 70C. I made over 200 div yesterday in about 10 to 12 hours of tier 17s. I bought Avenging Chasm Crit and I still have almost 200 div. Plus, I have a bunch of currency in maps that I bought at the end of the stream. Definitely very, very profitable, at least at this point of the league. I'm not sure how long that's gonna stay. but I've had a lot of fun, and this is gonna fund my future projects as I'm gonna be playing more and more builds. I don't know if I will be making every build tier 17 viable, because doesn't seem reasonable unless they do some changes in how the tier 17s actually work. This build, thankfully, actually can run any map mod, and part of it is because of Mana Flask. Mana Flask actually ended up being a huge upside for this build, especially when you enchant it with extra charges, send for Life Flask to cover the recovery, and there's a lot of map mods that like prevent ES regen, so people cannot, or ES recharge, so people cannot play EB at all, and then like no regen and less recovery of everything, and this build just doesn't care that much, so that helps a lot, and the Mana Flask is half of the reason. I think that's all I wanted to say about the tier 17s. TLDR, good design, good profit, but they should make them more accessible by allowing you to run them wide for lower profit or lower amount of frags, but then you can choose to run them rare for the full frags. And I know they have removed this for like all release invitations and whatnot, but I think these modifiers are just too much. Other alternative is make them roll like 4 modifiers instead of 6. That's the other option, but then you are still cherry picking maps that don't do anything for your build. I don't know. There's ways to do it, but I hope GGG addresses this, because as they are right now, they are definitely not between normal bosses and Uber bosses. I was actually gonna include Ubers in this video as showcase, but I did an Uber Shaper and Uber Elder, and one, they're not that profitable because the loot from them is not amazing. Uber Elder is like okay, because always it can drop watchers, but the rest of the loot is kind of whatever. But what I was gonna say is the bosses were just too boring compared to the tier 17s, so I just went back to tier 17s. My build was just too strong for those bosses. And I didn't realize that when I was trying tier 17s, because the tier 17s worked still quite hard, right? But it really puts it into perspective when you load up Ubers and you realize how much easier those are. But I mean, listen, it's a new patch. I hope these concerns get addressed, and I have trust in GGG to change it in some way, and I would be very surprised if they didn't. I hope they do it the right way. We'll see. This is the atlas that I use for the tier 17 farming. I just want to highlight a few notes real quick. I was running Pact of Energy with Nico chance for extra buffs from Nico. I was running the Dutiful Soldier with Zealotry Aura on one of Huck's items for extra buffs from Huck. He also gives you basically an Adrenaline buff on top of that. And I was running the Torment Keystone Speaker of the Dead to prevent the bosses getting further spirited, because there's a mod that spawns spirit at low HP of unique monsters. So this one helps a lot. I would even say it's probably mandatory. Otherwise, I spec'd into a few shrines. You can actually cheese tier 17s pretty hard if you use Domination Scarabs. I think you can add like 8 extra shrines plus whatever the Atlas lets you add, so like 10 shrines if you just roll a Divine Shrine. The map is basically free, but I haven't been doing that. I haven't been using any of those Scarabs, but speaking of Scarabs, I've actually spec'd into Necropolis nodes, both this wheel and the left wheel. And I've been getting a few of the Scarab explosions. I don't know if they're more common in tier 17s or if GGG just changed something, or if I just got unlucky before that, but at the time of recording of this video, I got like 5 Scarab explosion maps in half a day. If you want to check those out, they are also on my channel. Well, 2 of them are. They are insanely good. It literally reminds me of Affliction. I think you guys would really enjoy that. If you enjoyed Affliction League, you should check out the video for that one. But yeah, this is my Atlas. I have some extra Quant and Rarity in the middle. I have some Scarab, extra Scarab chins here. Doesn't really matter too much what you click afterwards. I just highly recommend getting the extra buffs, since they don't really cost you anything. That is kind of a quick rundown of what I wanted to say about the tier 17 maps. If you guys have any questions about them or about anything else, please let me know in the comments. This is probably the last update on this build in specific, the Hexblast Trickster Miner, which was an insane league starter, honestly. I completed my Atlas, made my basic currency, did everything I needed it to do, and it conquered the new content quite well. The fact that it can run any of the map mods was a huge plus, and listen, the maps aren't easy sometimes, but it can do them, and that's the important part. I will be rerolling a new build tomorrow. which is gonna be custom crit DD. I mean, I made a guide for it and I wanna play it. I wanna see what you can do in this league with that build and see how it performs in general. After that, I plan to play a build of each ascendancy and I'm not really sure in which order and whatnot. Please let me know in the comments on which builds you would like to see next. And make sure to like and subscribe if you actually enjoy these videos, because it helps the YouTube algorithm a lot and it helps me a lot and it would be much appreciated. Thanks everyone for watching. Enjoy the map showcases. Bye! I don't know if there's gonna be an update by GG. Did they say there will be?
The stars betray us. I have already seen you use this bad trigger. For the king, I built a temple around the mirror. Give in. No escape. All wrath.
Shove that. Focus on Maligara. Maligara dead. Focus on Daedra. And done. Nice, that was clean. If you remember, I would be happy. I kind of wanna cancel the acceleration shrine. I think it's too much speed. It's a weird thing to say, but I think it's safer to dodge without. Nice. You won't be able to use the... You just won't be able to use the lose 200 resolve. Oh, my detonate is going off by itself all the time. Automation support is 10 times better than left click detonate ever was. It's literally left click, but you don't actually need to hold the left click. It's like... I feel like people don't understand this until they play a miner. The way miner feels right now is insane. Nice, clean. And there's a lot of repeated questions and whatnot. You guys have been very helpful. I think that.